Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada, 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 Srila Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Nitya Vishnu Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivraja Kacharya Stota Sada Shri Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. Jaya Nitya Vishnu Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivraja Kacharya Stota Sada Shri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada Ki. Ananta Gaudi Vaishnavinda Ki. ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki. Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Shri Gadadhar Shivasati Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Go Gopinath Shamakunda Radha Kunagiri Govardhan Ki. Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki. Shri Mayapur Dham Ki. Shri Jagannath Puri Dham Ki. Shri Gangamaya Jamuna Maya Ki. Bhakti Tulsi Devi Ki. Harinam Sankirtan Ki. Brihambadanga Transcendental Bhakti Shri Ki. Prasadam Sankirtan Ki. Samaveda Bhaktivinda Ki. Gaur Premanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. So I feel very honored and not so qualified to speak in front of so many senior Vaishnavas. But Savas Prabhu requested that I read today and share some of my thoughts about this Chaitanya Charitamrita verses, starting with text 35. Okay. Prabhu kahe tumi saba parama vidvan ye bala hoy se kara samadana. The Lord said, since you are all very learned personalities, whatever you decide, I shall accept. Tabe Nityananda Goshani Govindera Pasa Magya La Ila Prabhura Eka Bahirvasa. Lord Nityananda Prabhu then obtained an external garment used by the Lord by requesting it from Govinda. Se Bahirvasa Sarvabhauma Pashadila Sarvabhauma Se Vastra Rajare Patala. Thus Nityananda Prabhu delivered the old cloth to the care of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, and Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya sent it to the king. Text number 38. Vastrapana Rajara Hoila Anandita Mana Prabhu Rupa Kare Kare Vastrera Pujana. When the king received the old cloth, he began to worship it exactly as he would worship the Lord personally. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. This is also the conclusion of the Vedic injunctions. Since the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the absolute truth, everything in relation to Him is also on the same platform. The king had great affection for Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and although he did not see the Lord, he had nonetheless already attained the conclusion of devotional service. Immediately upon receiving the cloth from Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, the king began to worship it, accepting it as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The Lord's clothing, bedding, slippers, and everything required as an ordinary necessity, are all transformations of Sesha, Vishnu, the expansion of Sri Baladev. Thus the cloth and other paraphernalia of the Supreme Personality of Godhead are but other forms of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Everything connected to the Lord is worshipable. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu instructs us that just as Krishna is worshipable, Krishna's place, Vrindavan, is also worshipable. And as Vrindavan is worshipable, similarly the paraphernalia in Vrindavan, the trees, roads, river, everything is worshipable. A pure devotee thus sings, Jaya Jaya Vrindavanavasi Yata Jana. All glories to the residents of Vrindavan. If a devotee has a staunch devotional attitude, all these conclusions will be awakened or revealed within the heart. Yasya deve para bhaktir yata deve tata guru tasyaite katita hyarta prakashante mahatmana. Only unto those great souls who have implicit faith in both the Lord and the spiritual master are all the imports of Vedic knowledge automatically revealed. Svetasvatara Upanishad 6.23. Thus following in the footsteps of Maharaj Prataparudra and other devotees, we should learn to worship everything belonging to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is referred to by Lord Shiva as Tadiyanam. In the Padma Purana it is said, Aradhanam sarvesham Vishnur aradhanam param tasmat parataram devi tadiyanam samacharam. O Devi, the most exalted system of worship is the worship of Lord Vishnu. Greater than that is the worship of Tadiya, or anything belonging to Vishnu. Sri Vishnu is Satchit Ananda Vigraha. Similarly, the most confidential servant of Krishna, the spiritual master, and all devotees of Vishnu are Tadiya. The Satchit Ananda Vigraha Guru, Vaishnavas, and things used by them must be considered Tadiya, and without a doubt worshipable by all living beings. Om Agyanatimirandasya Gyanangana Salakaya Chakshu Anmilitam Jaina Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. So, I have been born in the darkest of ignorance, but my eyes have been opened by the torchlight of knowledge. By my spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, I offer him my humble obeisances. So here, we're hearing the wonderful experience of Maharaj Prataparudra, who's having the opportunity to worship and take advantage of the cloth that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has given him that was personally used. So this verse is a very famous verse spoken by Lord Shiva to Parvati, and it is the foundation of our Krishna conscious movement in understanding how to make progress in spiritual life by worshiping the devotees, by worshiping the spiritual master, and by seeing everything and anything in relation to Krishna is non-different from Krishna. There is a wonderful... How many of you have read the new BTG that came? That's it? Okay. Well, I invite everyone to read it, and I finished my copy, so if you need to borrow it, that's fine. But this gives a really great example, and I love it very much, especially this ecstatic picture of Mahanta Prabhu. So, in the article it explains, then when they interviewed Mahanta, he was asked, why don't you just pay somebody, $10 an hour or whatever to clean the buckets? And he said, actually I was told by a senior devotee when I was first doing this service that cleaning these buckets is non-different from cleaning Krishna. from bathing the lotus feet of Krishna. So I also had a similar experience when I was in Denver, Colorado. I was the head cook for a short time, for a few years there. And I cooked this feast for Bhaktisiddhanta. And as usual, in the kitchen sometimes I get carried away. I love to cook, but sometimes I'm actually training myself now that I'm here in New Dwarka, the most my favorite temple next to Vrindavan and Chaupati. This is the process that Srila Prabhupada emphasized, that 50% of your time in the kitchen is cleaning and 50% cooking. And basically that means that you get the opportunity to massage Lord Balaram, because Lord Balaram is manifest within all the paraphernalia in the kitchen, the counter. So I'm meditating on this now. I'm taking this on as a meditation to clean as we go. And that was first awakened to me by Ganapati Swami. I made a request after the feast for any pot washers to come down and join us for the cleanup. And the first one to arrive was Ganapati Swami. And the first thing he did is he looked at all the pots, and most of them were on the floor. And he said, these pots are non-different from Lord Balaram. And I'm not going to start washing the pots until every one of them is off the floor. Of course, we can't always do that. But the point being, everything in relation to Krishna is non-different from him. Just like also one of the secrets of spiritual life is to be in the right place at the right time. So this temple is non-different from Krishna. This is where Krishna lives, where Krishna sleeps, where Krishna eats. Krishna and all of his Lord Gauranitai, Jagannath, Baladev, Subhadra, this is their home. And so I try and spend as much time in the temple as I possibly can and get purified. But an interesting room conversation that it was just a 3-minute conversation with Srila Prabhupada. It's in the conversations file. And at our temple, when I first in Hillsborough, one Mataji, she posted this. She just pasted the exact words, and Srila Prabhupada was sitting along with Pusta Krishna Maharaj, who was his then servant and GBC secretary, and they were there chanting japa, and Prabhupada all of a sudden said, he said, chanting japa in the temple is 1,000 times better, 1,000 times more potent, were the exact words. And Pusta Krishna looked up and he said, 1,000 times? Prabhupada said, yes, 1,000 times. So all of us don't have the same schedule, but the possibility of taking advantage of that. And also, Srila Prabhupada made very strong emphasis, since this is my service while I'm here. Suvas Prabhu and the assembled Vaishnavas, along with the wonderful help and association of Ratnabhushana, have hosted me to create a standardized quantity cookbook with all of the favorite preparations that Prabhupada enjoyed and the devotees did. In the days when I first started cooking, Krishna was very kind to me to give me the opportunity to associate with, when I first joined, Lord Balaram through his pots. I used to wash the pots for over a year, and I gravitated, and that's where I got the most relishable prasadam, scraping the pots. And then I had the association of Mother Bhadra, who was my first cooking guru. And I, from there, learned how to cook, and Krishna was very kind to me to give me some service right away that I was very enlivened about. So Prabhupada called the prasadam distribution his secret weapon, and he made very heavy and clear delineation of that in one encounter that was in, I won't name the temple because I don't want to give it away, in India. It was in 1975, and Srila Prabhupada had come to that temple to open it and also do Pandal programs with over 5,000 people were coming every day. And the first day they started, after Prabhupada gave the lecture, and then there was kirtan, then they served out prasadam. Prabhupada was in his room, and he said, "Go get me a plate of the prasadam." And Prabhupada ate a little of it and then spit it out. It was, and he had heard from some of the other devotees that even the dogs in India, everyone eats off leaf plates, and they left most of the prasadam on the plates, and not even the dogs would eat it. Srila Prabhupada was so upset. I've never heard of him being so angry. He immediately called in the temple authority and chastised him very heavily. Of course, when Prabhupada chastised you, it was mercy. And at the same time, he didn't offend you. You knew you were getting purified. And then the next day, it's like it never happened. But Prabhupada made some very good points at this encounter. He said, "How can you do this? Who has cooked this food? This prasad, so-called prasadam?" And the temple manager said that they had found one of the temple sweepers who supposedly knew how to cook in quantity. At that early date, most of the devotees coming from America did not know how to cook in quantity on the wooden stoves and all kinds of different difficulties. So somehow or other he didn't know, he was so busy making arrangements for opening the temple that he didn't check out more carefully. And so Prabhupada was extremely upset. And he said, so this prasadam this is why they come, prasadam and kirtan in the beginning. This is why they're coming. People will go many miles to go to a good restaurant. And if they have good food, then they will come back again. So these 2 points, especially prasadam distribution, has to be first class. And then he said, I personally cooked 12 preparations single-handedly in 1966 and served up to 100 devotees. What is the difficulty? If you don't have enough money, I will personally give from my own Lakshmi. And then he also called in the GBC, Jagadish Maharaj, and he just emphasized very strongly that the prasadam must be first class. Then in 1976, he sent a letter saying that now I want only prasadam restaurants with reading rooms. Don't open so many temples. And he sent a memo out to all the temples describing how it should be a buffet and all the different preparations. So like that, Prabhupada was emphasizing that prasadam distribution is very important. Prasadam is also the Tidiya, non-different from Krishna. So we have to be very careful also that we respect prasadam. In the old days, we used to have a sacred throw-out, because prasadam should not just be dumped in the regular garbage. It should be made sacred. And in that way, we're not offending prasadam. This is non-different from Krishna. Krishna tasted these foodstuffs, and now they've become transformed. They're also part of Krishna's paraphernalia. Then in 1977, Prabhupada wrote a letter to all the temples, a memo sent out. He said, I have heard that the standard of the Sunday feast has gone down. Therefore, I am giving you this list of a standardized Sunday feast, 13 preparations. I want this to be immediately implemented in all of the temples. So these are some very important points. There's also a famous story that Harisari tells about a morning walk. Prabhupada was on a walk with Hridayananda Maharaj, and he saw a plate of prasadam that was on the ground. It hadn't hardly been touched or anything. It was from the Sunday feast the day before. And Prabhupada said, he pointed to the plate of prasadam and he told Hridayananda Maharaj, go eat that prasadam right now. And he immediately ate it. So, Krishna prasadam, and let's see, yeah. So he, oh yeah, and also this is very important. Everything in the kitchen, everything is part of Krishna's paraphernalia. And so also we heard from Shruti Rupa when she was here for the Prabhupada festival, that Prabhupada personally, after she cooked an offering to him, he saw in the garbage can some cauliflower that had not been utilized. And he said, this should not be wasted. The food that Bhoga that Krishna gives us is a gift from Krishna. And therefore we must utilize. And he said that the wasting is sinful activity. So we have 4 regular principles. And how important this is. So Krishna has given us this big gift. What else? Okay. What time is it? 8 o'clock? Okay. So then, all conclusions everything belonging to Krishna is for his satisfaction. So we'll continue reading. Text 39. After returning from his service in South India, Ramananda Roy Yabe Dakshina Hoite Aila Prabhu Sange Rahite Rajake Nivedila. After returning from his service in South India, Ramananda Roy requested the king to allow him to remain with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Tabe Raja Santoshe Tanhare Agadila Apane Malina Lage Sadite Lagila. When Ramananda Roy requested the king to allow him to stay with the Lord, the king immediately gave him permission with great satisfaction. As far as the king himself, he began to solicit Ramananda Roy to make a meeting arrangement. Text 41. Mahaprabhu Mahakripa Karena Tomare More Milabare Avasya Sadibe Tanare. The king told Ramananda Roy, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is very, very merciful to you. Therefore, please solicit my meeting with him without fail. Eke Sange Dwi Jana Kshetre Yabe Aila Ramananda Roy Tabe Prabhare Malila. The king and Ramananda Roy returned together to Jagannath Kshetra, Puri, and Sri Ramananda Roy met Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Prabhupada Prema Bhakti Janala Rajara Prasanga Panaiche Kare Bara Bara. At that time, Ramananda Roy informed Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu about the ecstatic love of the king. Indeed, as soon as there was some opportunity, he repeatedly informed the Lord about the king. Raja Mantri Ramananda Vyavahare Nipanu Raja Priti Kahi Drivaila Prabhuramana. Sri Ramananda Roy was indeed a diplomatic minister for the king. His general behavior was very expert. And simply by describing the king's love for Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he gradually softened the Lord's mind. Purport. A diplomat in the material world knows how to deal with people, especially in political affairs. Some of the great devotees of the Lord, like Ramananda Roy, Raghunath Das Goswami, Sanatan Goswami, and Rupa Goswami, were government officers and had a background of very opulent householder life. Consequently, they knew how to deal with people. In many instances, we have seen the diplomacy of Rupa Goswami, Raghunath Das Goswami, and Ramananda Roy employed in the service of the Lord. When Raghunath Das Goswami's father and uncle were to be arrested by government officials, Raghunath Das Goswami hid them and personally met the government officers and settled the affair diplomatically. This is but one instance. Similarly, Sanatan Goswami, after resigning his ministership, was thrown in jail, and he bribed the attendant of the jail so he could leave the clutches of the Nawab and live with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Now we see Ramananda Roy, a most confidential devotee of the Lord, diplomatically soften the heart of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, despite the fact that the Lord definitely decided not to meet the king. The diplomacy of Ramananda Roy and entreaties of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya and all the other great devotees succeeded. The conclusion is that diplomacy used for the service of the Lord is a form of devotional service. So here we hear this very important point, that diplomacy is used in the service of the Lord. Just like we see here in this Rath Yatra festival, which, by the way, is one of Srila Prabhupada's most ecstatic program that he himself started when he was only 6 years old. He started his own Rath Yatra festival, and he also distributed prasadam afterwards. And this is there's also an instance where Srila Prabhupada, I believe at least 2 times, he danced ecstatically in the kirtan of the Rath Yatra festival. So we can understand that Srila Prabhupada, his great ecstasy is also the ecstasy of Lord Krishna. And we're singing every day, Yasha Prasada, Bhagavat Prasado, Yasha Prasada, Nakatika Dopi, Dayam Stuvam, Tasya Yashastri Sandhyam, Bande Guroshi Charnada Vindam. By the mercy of the spiritual master, one receives the mercy of Krishna. Without the grace of the spiritual master, no one can make any advancement. So, one of the secrets of spiritual life is to be in the right place at the right time. And this is exemplified in not only being after class to the Mahaprasadam bowl that Rabindranath is distributing, but coming to all the spiritual programs. And one of them I wanted to give, to share from my own life. It actually was an experience that sustained my whole devotional career. And okay, so this was 1972, New Vrindavan, Srila Prabhupada's first Vyas Puja in New Vrindavan. Srila Prabhupada had finished the lecture. He gave a very wonderful lecture, really diplomatically acknowledging there are many parents came. And then after the lecture, Vishnu Jan Swami chanted the Samsara prayers to Srila Prabhupada on his Vyas Puja day. And in the middle of finishing he just finished the Samsara prayers. He chanted Jai Shri Krishna, Namo Om Jai Shri Krishna. And he chanted one mantra of Hare Krishna, and then Prabhupada took over the kirtan. And I was sitting in the audience, and when Prabhupada took over the kirtan, as also explained by Satyanarayan Prabhu, it seemed like the heavens had showered down the spiritual world. And everyone that I saw around me, we all jumped up in the air and we were swooning and crying in ecstasy. It felt like the spiritual world has just entered into that whole area. Srila Prabhupada had showered down the mercy of the holy name and benedicted everyone. And it was the most incredible kirtan that I had ever experienced in my life. Seeing all the devotees, we were just like waves of ecstasy throughout the whole room. It was like Krishna had come down from the spiritual world and was dancing with Lord Chaitanya and Srila Prabhupada. And everyone was so enlivened. And after the kirtan ended, they brought Srila Prabhupada. It hardly got to Prabhupada. No, actually, they brought up, which was cooked actually, I just found out recently by Gayatri, Amarindra's wife, a banana cake. And so Prabhupada took one small piece, he ate it, and then devotees just dived into the prasadam. And it was all gone within 15 minutes. And then Srila Prabhupada asked later, was there any more? He was so enlivened by the prasadam. So prasadam is this is our forms of so-called sense gratification. But so prasadam should be first class, and it should be honored respectfully. And it is a most important aspect of our devotional career. And of course we should not overeat, but we should honor prasadam. It's a spiritual activity. Prabhupada would take prasadam by himself, and at the same time we can relish nice prasadam without talking any heavy conversation, but just relish it and hear Krishna Katha, and this will give us great inspiration in our devotional career. Prasadam is our sustenance. It's what actually made me stay in the movement. There were many times where I wanted to leave as a new bhakta, but the next day or 2 days later, the Sunday feast was coming up, and I just, no, I'm not going to leave. So we should honor prasadam and also take advantage of these wonderful festivals to distribute lots of prasadam. It's a most important activity, and it purifies all souls, us as well as all living entities. So I'd like to open it up now for any devotees. We have so many senior God brothers here, and anyone for any comments or questions. Is it 8:15? Oh, okay. Well, please pass around the mic. Oh.
Is it on?
Thank you.
Thank you for a wonderful class. Thank you so much.
You're very kind and generous.
There's one story I'd like to tell about Srila Prabhupada. He was disturbed because the cooking was taking so long for his meal. He said, "Why is it taking so long? 1 hour." He says, "Tomorrow I will cook." And so he went down to the kitchen, and as he was going into the kitchen, behind Srila Prabhupada's back, he looked at his watch to see what time it was that Prabhupada was entering into the kitchen. So Srila Prabhupada went into the kitchen, and he cooked everything that he needed to cook for the lunch, and he left. And as he was leaving, he stopped in front of the devotee that had looked at his watch, and Prabhupada looked at his watch, and he tapped his watch and then walked past.
He what?
Tapped his watch. He looked at his watch, noting the time. But that devotee had looked at his watch in back of Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada didn't see him, timing him. I'd like to tell a story about San Francisco Rath Yatra. This was in 1974. This was the first year that Madhavisa had gone to the San Francisco Rath Yatra to try and pump up the Rath Yatra. It had declined over the years since the first one. And Bhaktidas was also there, and Jayananda. And it was Madhavisa's idea that the Rath Yatra should be like a fair, that there could be booths and there could be prasadam for sale and different things. So this festival kind of fair idea was Madhavisa's. And Bhaktidas had hired a PR man to promote the Rath Yatra, and there was billboards, signs on buses, on the trolleys and trains, and the lampposts, posters everywhere for the Rath Yatra. Jayananda I remember this was the first Rath Yatra that I ever attended, and Jayananda went up into the hills of San Francisco, from the freeway, there's rolling hills you can see. And he had gone up into the hills that overlooked some of the freeway, and with bags of lime, he had written in the sides of the hills, and of course it burned the grass, so words were formed out of the lime. Okay. And he wrote advertisements for the Rath Yatra, and he wrote Hare Krishna on the sides of the hills. So this idea of a fair kind of festival was very successful, that it was economically viable also to hold such a grand affair as this Rath Yatra. As we all know, they're quite costly. And the day of the Rath Yatra, it was cold. It was the San Francisco day. It was cold. It was rainy. It was miserable weather. And Bhaktidas recalls thinking, oh, Lord, why have you given us this weather? We've done so much. We've tried to do everything, to make this a wonderful event. And Srila Prabhupada came to the chariots, and he climbed up onto the chariot, and he sat on his Vyasa, and the sun came out, just like in Philadelphia. As soon as Prabhupada sat down, the sun came out. And then everyone, people crawled out of the bushes, and it was thousands and thousands of people attended that Rath Yatra. It was huge. And at one point, Srila Prabhupada raised his hand like this, and all the chariots stopped. And Prabhupada got down from his chariot, and he went off into the forest to answer the call of nature. And the devotees thought this was part of the ritual, so they started to follow him. Right. And then they indicated, okay, no, we're not following. And I didn't get that memo. That was the first Rath Yatra I'd ever been to. And I saw Srila Prabhupada walking along. I was at some place off to the side, and I saw Srila Prabhupada walking alone. There was no one with him. And I thought, oh, that's... And I didn't really... I was a new devotee. That's the spiritual teacher. I wasn't sure, what to call him. And I said, that's the spiritual teacher. And I was about to follow him also. And at the same time, I had looked up, and I was near Lord Jagannath's cart, and there was a peacock feather that had come floating down from the cart like this. And it fell right at my feet. And I picked it up, and as I picked it up, Srila Prabhupada's 2 feet the cane, walked right in front of me, and he went off into the forest. And I remember seeing the carts for the first time, and I remember thinking that they were like ships on dry land. The silken sails were billowing, and they were huge. It was nothing like I hadn't seen any pictures of what to expect at a Rath Yatra. There were no, and it was just an amazing event.
Amazing. Anyone else? Dina Bandhu, can you give us some mercy?
You caught me off guard. All right. One time.
About this verse, Tadiyanam.
Rath Yatra? I just remember there's pictures. I remember there's pictures of me that I wasn't at the first Rath Yatra. This was, I believe it was 1970 Rath Yatra. And some, what were they called? Black Panthers. that started a fight. So they told Prabhupada not to come to the Rath Yatra, and he was very sad. So finally they brought him, and I remember I turned around. I was, chanting with the kirtan party, and I turned around, and there was Prabhupada. Prabhupada was so sad. He eventually insisted he must go, and they thought everything was peaceful after that. Just in the beginning, there was some trouble, and Prabhupada, beautiful bright orange silk dhotis. He paid his dandavats right on the street. And everyone just came running from all around, and there was a big circle around Prabhupada. And I was thinking, how am I going to get through this circle? I don't know, maybe it was just the desperate look on my face. Suddenly it was just like, the Red Sea parting, just everybody just looked at me and turned, and they turned around and saw me, saw my look. Zoop, I went straight through, and there was Prabhupada, was just jumping up and down and dancing in ecstasy before Lord Jagannath.
Very nice. Govinda Dad had something. You want to pass the mic to him?
Hare Krishna. Prabhu, maybe you would like to speak about more points on prasadam being healthy for the devotees. I know it must be tasty. Can you say a few things about healthy prasadam?
Yeah. Well, one thing is the Sunday feast every once a week, maybe we can, go for broke, so to speak. But throughout the week, and the way I was trained as a brahmachari, we didn't have any sweets whatsoever. It was only at the Sunday feast. This is the original way it was. Not sweets every single day. It's not that beneficial for our health and well-being to have sweets. And so we also want to take advantage of any organic produce. This is a wonderful little book put together by Vaninath describing about the qualifications for donating bhoga. It's very informative. I would recommend every devotee read it. The point is that Prabhupada wanted us to eat healthy. I mean, at the same time, he was using milk that he knew was not from Ahimsa cows. So, better than no milk, at least something. A blind uncle is better than no uncle. And fried foods and all these things, they're not so conducive towards our, especially as we're getting older. So, the prasadam, of course, for Krishna, everything is a different standard. It should be the first class standard. And he gets a variety of foodstuffs. He should have everything cooked in ghee. Ghee is the main thing that will give us strength. It's very healthy, and all dairy products are, but not to overdo it like that. He said 1 to 2 cups maximum of hot milk in a day, and that way it also goes to your brain when you drink hot milk. And basically everyone has a different constitution, of course, but there is different strokes for different folks, so to say. Like I am Vata, so I don't eat any nightshades. Nightshades is eggplant, tomatoes, and potatoes because it blocks up the nadis, the different energies, levels, and makes me go to sleep. So, anything else? Does that answer your question?
I just remembered one pastime where Tamal Krishna Goswami was saving samosas, and probably Tamal Krishna Goswami was saving samosas.
Yeah.
And Srila Prabhupada made a comment, he's eating for his death.
Eating for what?
Eating for his death. Unhealthy.
Oh.
Eating for his death. Hare Krishna.
Okay. Then we have
Prabhu, I don't know if we have ever had a system in which, especially now, you know that people talks about the healthy issues. When a person gets healthy issues, especially when we have like the Sunday feast, we have huge crowds, and it's very difficult for the cook to concentrate in something, like uh, adaptable for those people who might have, diabetes, or somebody might have. You cannot eat fried food, and then you have a lot of seniors. I've seen sometimes in a big line, many people over 50 and 60, and they might do it at one time, but my point is that is there any time in which the cook will make something special for that kind of people, maybe? Uh,
Well, in general, we can, like I cooked the Sunday feast last Sunday, and I made sweet and sour subji. In the recipe it says you can deep fry the plantains, and I didn't deep fry any vegetable except for the curd, and you don't have to deep fry that. You can make it palatable and also healthy at the same time. It's not like everything has to be deep fried. We were really going over the top in the beginning of the movement. I remember some of the recipes. Harikesh Prabhu was cooking subjis where every single vegetable was deep fried. And the sugar in the glucerine juice was 1 cup of water or 1 cup of sugar. And even Ratna, he and myself, we use 5 cups of sugar to 10 cups of water. I mean, it's just not a daily thing that we should experience eating. A Mahaprasadam is different, but as far as regularly taking sweets.
Well, I just wanted to say you can hardly mention belief in prasadam and the power of prasadam without mentioning Jayananda. And Jayananda believed in prasadam so much, but I wanted to tell you one thing, was that he kept a bucket of halava in the prasadam room. And he told us, if you want to leave, go eat halava until you pass out.
If you want to leave?
Yes, eat as much halava as you fall asleep. And then when you wake up, you'll feel ecstatic and you'll want to stay. So.
I think our temple president Srivas had something. Could we give a mic to Srivas for a bit?
I think that all of us, we didn't all come from the same temple, so there was such a variety of how to understand the prasadam in the early days. I do know that where I was at, we ate pretty moderately during the week. That's why the Sunday feast was so special.
Yeah.
In other words, today we may not be doing that, and so even our own devotees don't think that Sunday feast is special. So we used to eat very moderately. You didn't eat a lot of fried foods during the week. You ate rice, dal, and sabji. And even if you used ghee in those preparations, it was a chance. It wasn't like you pour 4 cups of ghee in something. It was very moderate.
Yes.
And then when the Sunday feast came, you couldn't wait. There was nothing like eating, for me, it was nothing like having a puri sandwich with halava in it. And when I ate that, I was so happy that I was a devotee. It made so much sense. So maybe we should see Sunday feast as that kind of a tool in spreading Krishna consciousness, and that's why Prabhupada had it like that. Because during the week we should eat like normal, moderate, be very conscientious. Don't have a lot of fried foods, as you say. Try not to eat too many sweets, but things that become very opulent in all the ISKCON temples, not just maybe here, but everywhere. But you're right, we should be very conscientious how we eat. Then when the Sunday feast comes, you'll be in ecstasy to have things fried in ghee and, halava and all those good things that we long for. Yeah. And especially, I think, for younger devotees, those of us that are older, obviously we have to be conscientious. We can't expect to be like that, but neither should we expect the young men and women that come to eat like us. I can't expect a young 22, 23-year-old brahmachari or brahmacharini to eat like me when I'm 70 years old. So that would be ridiculous. We should encourage them to eat Krishna prasadam, but they should be moderate at point and then ecstatic on Sunday.
Yeah, separation makes the heart grow fonder and the stomach. Anything else? Thank you for your attention, and please forgive me for being a little unprepared. All glories to Sri Guru and Granga, all glories to Krishna Prasadam. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna. Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna. I don't know whose book this is.